Welcome to another video. Today we're reviewing Terminator 3 Rise of the Machines. This one came out in 2003 and was directed by Jonathan Mostow and stars Arnold Schwarzenegger and Christina Loken. Now before we start, don't forget the like button, subscribe to the post notifications bell so you can do it for every video. Let's just start. Let's start talking about the good. So Arnold Schwarzenegger is once again fantastic. I really liked him as the Terminator. The opening monologue scene I thought was okay. Wasn't great. It was fine. The cinematography, which includes shots of cameras and lighting, again, okay. Looks like your typical 2000s film, which I was fine with. There are some hilarious sequences in this film because in the Terminator films, especially James Cameron's, they were... Well, the first one was leaning more towards horror, but it still had a few comedic elements within it, especially with John Connor's character, and same thing with Terminator 2. This one, some of them land for me. And the ending sequence, I thought it was okay. It worked good enough where I felt that it concluded the film in a way that was meaningful. And the score by Marco Beltrami, I thought it was good. I thought it was a good score for this film. That's all the good that I have. Now to move on to the bad. So there is some bad acting in this film. And by bad acting, I mean very bad. Every single character except Arnold Schwarzenegger is terrible. I didn't like any of the characters. I really didn't like the idea of having two sort of Terminators. It just didn't make any sense in this film whatsoever, and the acting for all those characters were terrible. The story is okay, but it's executed very poorly. The story could have been much better, but with what we had, I thought it was fine. But the way it was executed with every single act of the film, it just got worse and worse. There is no character development whatsoever in this film. I did not care about any of the characters except Arnold Schwarzenegger's Terminator, because there's no character development. The first act of the film I thought was very mediocre. It did not set up the characters well because, like I just stated, I did not care about any of them except Arnold Schwarzenegger. And the entire problem, or what the characters are trying to accomplish, isn't really a meaningful thing for this film. It's not really a huge thing with huge stakes. It's a small little thing with huge stakes obviously added onto it. It's obviously a lot of Terminators just taking over the world, rising the machines, but it's not executed in a way that makes sense. And the second half of the film is also very mediocre when they're actually going on that sort of journey to sort of stop some of the machines. It doesn't work at all. I did not like the second act of the film at all. It was very boring. And like I just stated, there are many boring sequences within this film. This film had so much boring sequences, or so many boring sequences, especially in that second act. I guess it was just to make the runtime longer, because the runtime for this film is, I think, the least amount of runtime for any of the Terminator films. It's 1 hour and 49 minutes. 1 hour and 49 minute Terminator film. That is not good because it doesn't have enough story to carry it throughout the entire film. If it had a good story, this film would have needed to be longer. But they made it shorter. They cut a whole lot of things out, which I think if they would have added some new things, I think it would have worked. But there are many boring sequences within this film. There are also many ridiculous sequences, and some of them are too ridiculous. I can get past some sequences with having two Terminators, but it goes beyond that, especially in that third act of the film, which I'll get to later, but there are a lot of ridiculous sequences. There are also many dumb character decisions. This is easily one of the only Terminator films where the characters make very poor decisions. The other Terminator films, since they were sort of these sci-fi films, you had Linda Hamilton as the hero, and she made some bad decisions, but it made sense why she did them. But this film just had a whole bunch of characters making terrible decisions. There are tons of cuts in the action sequences. I did not like the action sequences at all in this film. It was very hard to follow, especially in the second act and third act of the film. Arnold Schwarzenegger is great, but the action sequences are one of these main things about Terminator films that I always like to go back and rewatch. But this film, the action sequences are horrible. The CGI is a bit messy and very noticeable in some sequences, especially with the other Terminator, the girl Terminator. The CGI is very, very noticeable. And Arnold Schwarzenegger, while he is very good in this film, there is some CGI issues with a lot of the characters in this film. The Terminator, there's something that he does in this film. He follows his mission. Of course, he has to go through his mission and do all that. But he changes his entire mission because one of the characters in the film, Kate Connor, tells him that he has to. That is one of the dumbest things that I've ever seen in a Terminator film, where a human tells the Terminator what they're supposed to do in terms of their mission. It just didn't make any sense at all. That's why Terminator died in number 2, because he was technically following his mission to save John Connor. This film, it ruined that. It ruined it, and it ruined it very, very bad, because he just goes along with whatever the character says, and he has no, he's basically not a Terminator anymore. He's just following what other people say. And the entire film undermines the ending of T2. T2 is one of the best sci-fi films ever made, and that ending is very emotional, where the Terminator dies by sacrificing himself for John Connor. This just takes that all out and makes the Terminator like come back to life, have all these machines, and the ending doesn't give him at all an emotional ending like T2 did. It just ruined that entire ending. I don't know what to say about this film. I probably will never rewatch this ever again in my entire life. So Terminator 3 Rise of the Machines is a horrible film. I did not like it at all. The only redeemable qualities in the film was Arnold Schwarzenegger. So I'm going to have to give Terminator 3 Rise of the Machines a D. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the post notification bell so you know if I have a video. I'm Peter. Thank you for watching.